Hi everyone, I hope that you're doing okay. Here's the review for the evolutionary test. Make sure that you understand what evolution is. Evolution is just the change in allele frequency in a population over time. That just means that the DNA changes in a population and then the population is able to evolve. And that happens over time for sure. I want you to read these pages again for the test that you're going to have on Tuesday. I've put these pages down below in the review. Make sure you also know what natural selection is. Natural selection is a tendency for nature to either select for or against certain traits that individuals have in a population. Those traits then are either reinforced or taken out of the population over time. Then the DNA frequency changes in that population, and the population then evolves. We can draw all of these big evolutionary trees, but the question always is, what's the evidence for this? Now, we did a big lab on this. We watched a movie on this. Make sure you pause it here and take a look at these bits of evidence for evolution. We're going to write an essay on the exam on these things. I want to touch on a couple of them. The first one's biogeography. That's just using life and where it is in order to make conclusions evolutionarily, like the relatedness of the turtles or the birds on the Galapagos Islands, and then their unrelatedness to other organisms, even in Ecuador, which is the closest landmass to them. So make sure you take a look at that. Also, make sure you understand how we can compare sequences of DNA and then make conclusions about how related two organisms are based on how consistent the sequence of DNA is in a certain gene. The idea is that the more distant, or sorry, the more distantly related they are, the more differences they'll have in the DNA sequence, which controls both their anatomical structures and the proteins that are being made in them. Take a look at these pages in the book. That will help you out there. I want to also bring you up to speed on two other concepts of evolution. One is convergent evolution. And remember what converge means: to come together, like in a driving scenario. The idea is that you can see organisms that are kind of unrelated on the evolutionary tree, like a fish and a mammal, but they look very similar. And the idea is that if they are susceptible to similar environmental pressures, they'll have similar characteristics over time, even though they aren't really that related. This also you can apply to a reptile here when it comes to kind of this form that we see in the ocean. And similarly, you can see it with some flying organisms too. These are unrelated organisms, but they look very similar due to similar environmental pressures. Also, remember we learned about the gradualism and punctuated equilibrium models of of evolutionary theory. Some people believed that it was very consistent and stepwise and predictable. You could say, oh, this organism is going to evolve into a new form in this many years. We know now that that's not true, that the punctuated model is really the one that is correct. And what it means is that organisms are well adapted in their current situation. Then all of a sudden, the environment changes. Organisms within that population have different traits than others. They're better fit in that new environment, and then those characteristics are reinforced. And then in the future, those are the characteristics we see most of the organisms have in that population. Here's question 2 on the test. Here's question 10 on the test. Take a look at these pages, please.